Hey Scrubs, this is Retro. This is a re-upload of the review I did for Carrion that went live yesterday. I wasn't very happy with some of the editing choices I made and the sequence of the review, so I've moved things around and polished up and re-uploaded it. I hope you guys like it. This is my first review on the channel, and today we're looking at Carrion, developed by Phobia Game Studios and published by Devolver Digital. Let's read the description from the devs. Carrion is a reverse horror game in which you assume the role of an amorphous creature of unknown origin, stalk and consume those that imprisoned you to spread fear and panic throughout the facility. Grow and evolve as you tear down this prison and acquire more and more devastating abilities on the path to retribution. So what is it, guys? Well, it's a 2D horror game in which you are the baddie. But is Carrion the game going to make you rip and tear like you're the baby of the Doom Marine and a mutant squid after some alco pops and spicy foods, or will the game make you feel like a bag of jelly at a toddler's birthday, getting kicked around and mistreated and maybe smeared with the contents of a diaper? Insane power fantasy or death by literally anyone? Let's get started, beautiful people. So, gameplay. The main gameplay loop here is that you're some sort of escaped monster in an underground research facility, and you must make your way through the facility to gather more biomass samples and become strong enough to escape. There's a central hub area where you'll unlock new zones to explore, and in a true metroidvania style, you gain powers as you assimilate more of your essence from the scientists that they've been keeping in protected containers, and these powers allow you to explore previously locked off areas of the map and open up shortcuts. Something about this gameplay loop really tickles my bunions, and I had a fun time bashing down objects that had previously blocked my exploration paths. Each area will have a certain amount of hives that you need to activate, and these are basically areas where the monster nests down and respawns if he's killed. Each gate that is required to advance to a new area will have a certain amount of hives in its local vicinity that you must activate, and as you activate each hive, the red biomass of the creature spreads throughout the facility, powering these gates and also destroying walls or pipes, opening up new ways to navigate through the levels. Traversal in this game is such a joy. You move around by moving the mouse cursor around the screen and holding the left mouse button to cast out tendrils in that direction, and then when the tendrils hit a war object, the creature is pulled in that direction. Movement feels precise and fast, and genuinely makes you feel like a swarm of tentacles and tendrils whipping around the walls and ceilings at breakneck speed. However, as the creature gets bigger, as you progress through the stages, you have to be more precise with your movement as the monster gets bigger and longer, and it's easy to get caught on the doors or vents as you try and drag your ass around corners. I'd peg this as a positive though, as when you're really tearing around the environment at speeds and your bottom gets stuck going around a corner, it just reminds you that you're such a big hulking beastie, and it feeds into that power fantasy. Whenever the gameplay mechanics inform the immersion, I have to give the developers a clap on the back. You also gain extra powers as you collect more of the contained biomass, such as super tendrils which shoot out a rake within a room, sending severed bodies everywhere, a brief invisibility so you can sneak past lasers, a spider-like web that can pin humans to the wall, an armored mode that allows you to bypass explosives, and also a power that allows you to protrude spikes from your wretched form and just bowling ball your way through enemies. There are also a couple of instances where you play from the perspective of a scientist team sent to investigate the site, but I won't go into detail of that here. I'll just say that I enjoyed these segments. The graphics in this are horrifically beautiful. The game is a gorgeous retro style, which is believable and yet seems to capture the feeling of 80s movies so perfectly. And it really gives you that nostalgia feel, even though the majority of us weren't even alive in the 80s. And then there's the gore. Upon booting the game, the first thing you'll notice is the main menu, and it's swimming in red biomass, teeth, tendrils. Yeah, this game really isn't for children. This is a brilliant little indicator of the horrors you as the player are going to inflict on the scientists and soldiers within the facility. The animations in this game are pretty good. Scientists wearing hazmat suits and soldiers wielding big guns do a good job of looking realistic and moving realistically, and the mechs move exactly how you'd expect an armoured fridge on motorised legs to move. The civilians look like civilians, and they're pretty distinct anyway, as you'll often catch them taking a dump in the middle of the carnage. But the star of the show is the monster. The definition of carrion is rotting or decaying flesh, and I think that perfectly summarises the beast. You start out as a pulsing mess of thin red tendrils that swirl and pulse and has teeth everywhere over its mass. As you progress through the game, you'll go through 3 distinct stages of mass. With each stage, the creature will get bigger, has more teeth, more of a warped shape, its size increases, the tendrils get thicker. The creature will begin to drag its mass behind it, and watching the mass squirm and writhe and slither around as you navigate is truly awesome. You'll go from skulking and stalking within the vents to really clapping some cheeks late game when you stumble upon some unarmored civilians. The different areas within the facility also have a unique feel to them, with luscious green overgrowths contrasting the flashing lights of a nuclear reactor section or the waterways, and briefly the above ground sections let you glimpse the world outside of this facility, which I was so drawn to. It was so mysterious to me that I couldn't help but move through this area at a snail's pace because I was totally hooked on the atmosphere that Phobia Game Studios had created. There's not much to say about performance because, while aesthetically beautiful, the game's art style doesn't require a great deal of power to keep things buttery smooth throughout the playthrough, meaning the options menu is also pretty sparse. With the audio. The sound effects in this game are incredibly well selected, from the sound of the monster's traversal to the beefy sound of firearms or the crunching of bones as you consume every living thing. The sound effects are awesome. There's a great slurping and almost rope-like sound effect to the tendrils shooting out at the environment, and I thoroughly enjoyed the aspect of this. The music is a mix of subdued 80s style synth and punchy, foreboding tracks that always make you feel as though you're building up towards a gorgeously gory crescendo. There are also some sharp violin chords that reminded me that this was a horror, except I was the monster. I was the danger. The voice in this game is mostly made up of sobs and screams, and I loved both of these. My only gripe with Carrion is an easily fixable one, and one I think many would agree with. I love the metroidvania gameplay of revisiting old areas with new powers to explore, but I got lost and unsure of where to go for about 15 minutes at one point. If I had a map that showed me all the areas I'd explored, as well as the hives I'd already established and where the gates were to different levels, I would have had much more of an enjoyable time towards the end of the game when I was unsure of where to go. So was it a blast? I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a total blast playing this game. The power fantasy is a real rush, and the satisfaction of stacking up on a door before bursting through and crushing and devouring the cowering humans on the other side is on par with a AA battery to the gonads. It's pure bliss. On top of that, the devs clearly have a sense of humour, with humorous situations throughout the game such as the civilians which you frequently catch on the toilet, which is exactly how I would react in the event of a red mass of tentacles and teeth stalking corridors. I also stumbled across a message board outside a room with a civilian on a computer on the other side that talked about how the computers were all down, but don't worry, the best IT guy was on it, as I ominously chuckled knowing that I'd be crunching down on him soon enough. Would I recommend Carrion? Definitely. I had so much fun playing it. This game truly makes you feel like a horrid, beastie monster, and made me a sick man as I gleefully tore scientists limb from limb before I rendered them with my rows of teeth. I completed Carrion in only 6 hours, however, and I know that at £17, some people might want to hold off for a sale, as your replayability mileage is going to vary from gamer to gamer. But guys, I must say, it's on the Xbox Game Pass, and that's only $3.99 a month on PC anyway, so if you've got Game Pass on Xbox or PC, you're already set. I'd highly recommend giving this a try. If you've enjoyed the review, click subscribe and let me know in the comments if you want to see more reviews. Keep an eye out for the reviews and gaming content on my channel. I love you beautiful bastards. Peace.